and welcome back to things no one cares about, or more accurately, things that some people care about sometimes and that I care about all the time. And today we're going to be doing another review, and this time it is Miracle Mask Baby. And I did think about reviewing Eternal Diva right now at this point, because that's kind of where it came in my longer video, and that's how I think of things. But I need to rewatch the movie and also think more about like how the ranking system is going to work with the movie. I don't know, I gotta think about that. So I think what I'm going to do is finish up Miracle Mask in this one, then Azran Legacy, then the crossover, and I have some exciting stuff planned for that. Then Catchroll's Game. Ooh. Then Mystery Room. But it'll obviously take me a while to put those all out. So if you'd like to see any of those videos, or any other Layton content, or anything else I make, then hit the subscribe button, please. Again, like all my other reviews, we will be reviewing this game on the premise, characters, puzzles, music, atmosphere, and the ending/general plot. I will give each section a ranking from A to F and S tier for the best of the best, and then I will rank the whole game on that scale. So let's get into the premise. Sorry, my footage got deleted for this section and I only realized it when I was editing. So we'll get into the premise really quickly. So the game begins with the classic Layton letter. This game, these franchises, they love letters, we know this. And the letter is from Herschel's old school friend, Angela. And she is asking for the professor's help in solving the mystery of the masked gentleman who has been performing dark miracles on the town of Monte d'Or. And he is turning people to stone, he's making paintings come to life. Anything you can think of, this guy is doing it. In order to achieve these great acts, he is using the Mask of Chaos, which is an Azran artifact that supposedly grants the wearer great powers. So Luke, Layton, and Emmy head to Monte d'Or to help solve this mystery, and that's what I'll call the kind of like present premise, because there's the present and the past premise. There's like two timelines in this game that we'll be following, and so I'm gonna cover, in like the premise section and the ending, I'll be looking at the premise and the ending of both the present and the past storylines. So in the present, when we get to Monte d'Or, we learn about the premise of like the past storyline. It's kind of complicated, but what's super interesting about this is that like with this sort of storytelling, we kind of enter in the middle, and I really like that. So when we like at the beginning of the game, we know the beginning of the present storyline and we know the ending of the past storyline, but we don't know like what happens like with that, and I just think that brings like a really cool tension. But what's the actual story with the past storyline? Basically, we learn that Angela knows Layton through an old friend, Randall. She was Randall's girlfriend, and Randall died in an accident, and Angela ended up marrying Randall's like servant. I don't know who Henry is. I like don't really understand his character. I mean, like, we know that he knew Randall and was kind of like living in his house, but he's also the same age as Randall and Angela and Layton. So like when they were all kids, like I don't think he was like a child like butler. I don't really know, but anyways, they were close. Randall was super into archaeology, and he was really into this Mask of Chaos and the Azran. So as we play the past storyline, we know that it'll end with Randall dying, but we don't really know how Randall died or how this is like relevant to the present story, but it's obvious that it is because like he was obsessed with like the Mask of Chaos and the Azran and all this. And I really love this premise. I genuinely think that this might be the only like S tier premise for me, because I think it's like so impressive to have a premise that implies enough of a story that it's really intriguing and tragic while not spoiling the rest of the game. The game can do that because of this like past present kind of like playing with the timeline, because as we play through the past storyline, we already know that Randall will die, and that's just brings like such a good level of like sadness to it. I also think the present storyline is just like kind of classic Layton. We have the letter and we have like a seemingly unsolvable mystery. And I also just love that the premise and story is entirely wrapped up in Layton's backstory. It's a little bit weird. Like I've talked about how like the prequel trilogy is all about Layton's backstory. And you would think that either like the first or the last game in that trilogy would be like the most about Layton's backstory. But in a way, this game is the most about Layton's backstory. Like the whole mystery is wrapped up in it. I don't know. I'll talk more about that in Azran Legacy. So again, I think this is S tier. It's a great premise, and also it's even like better knowing that the pacing and the rest of the plot live up to it. So for me, S tier. Third time recording this part because my phone keeps running out of storage. Yes, I'm filming it on my phone. I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm gonna run through this part fast because I'm sick of reading it again. So obviously we have the recurring characters for this trilogy, which are Layton, Luke, Emmy, Clamp, Grosky, and Descalay, and I will cover Descalay a bit more at the end of this game, but really I'm going to save him for Azran Legacy, because we don't learn too much more about him. He's the same guy who seems to know Layton, loves Azran, We don't know. I don't know. We just don't know what his deal is. Layton is super interesting here because we get our usual Layton in the present storyline, but in the past storyline we get little Layton, not the littlest Layton we will see, but we get little Layton. He's shy, blah, 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 but he's not the Layton that we know. He's not into archaeology. He's not super into puzzles. He's different. We don't know what happened to him. But we do see Randall. And Randall is super into archaeology and puzzles and all this stuff. And that's really cute because Layton is the way that he is because of Randall. And it's sad because we know that Randall will die at the end of this plot line. But it's really cute. I love seeing Layton's backstory. That's the point of the prequel series, to give us Layton's backstory. And so much of that has to do with Randall. Angela, a little boring, honestly. Not super interesting. I see her less as a character and more as a plot device, but that is unfortunately par for the course when it comes to Layton women. They hate women. I don't know. Emmy is probably the most interesting woman character we get, and she's kind of annoying. She's not cool until the end, so we'll come back to her. Henry is a weird character. Not super likable. He's not unlikable, but the game definitely wants you to think he could be a bad guy. Spoiler alert, he's not. He's just weird. He was close with Randall, now he's married to Angela, which, ooh, feels like a betrayal because he was close with Randall, but Randall and Angela were dating. Ooh, but you took the wife. I don't know. That's how we're supposed to feel. Then we have Leonard Bloom, random character, but he is a detective who turns out to be a bad guy who wants the professor to lead him to the mask, and he is interesting because he almost visually looks like he is from a different game. He doesn't look like a Layton style character to me. I don't know. He's weird for that. The reason why I'm actually mentioning him is because we later find out at the end of this game that he is related, that him and Desclay are related to a group called Targent, and we don't learn too much about that group in this game, but it's just cool because he's kind of like the first real sense we get of a larger organization, so he's important for that. But when you first meet him, there's the first reveal, I don't know, he seems random, but when you understand Targent more, then it's like, ooh, that was him, cool. Then we have the Masked Gentleman, who is the most visible villain in this game. He is over the top, a performer in character. He is performing these dark miracles, and he is doing it with panache and pizzazz, and I think that's amazing. The one thing that he does that does not have panache and pizzazz is the way that he dresses is boring, lame, and I think he could look better. I said it before, but him, Desclay, and Dimitri / Dr. Steingun, they all look the same. And it's boring. Don Paolo and my baby boy, Anton Hertzen, they look more interesting. They do kind of have the same purple and black aesthetic, but they look like villains, baby. I don't know. Dr. Steingun, I'll give him a pass because he looks like an evil scientist, and bingo, bullseye right on the money, that's what he is. I don't understand why Desclay and the Masked Gentleman look boring. And Desclay, I will also give him slightly a pass because he actually, he's in disguises most of the time, so that's fine. It doesn't actually matter what he looks like for most of it. Masked Gentleman, ooh, boring. He could look cooler. All he has going for him is the mask. His suit's okay, but come on, you're doing really cool things and I wish you could look cooler doing them. Finally, we have all the secondary characters in Monte d'Or, and I think this game really brings back the oddball character vibes that I felt were missing in Last Spectre and Unwound Future, because like I said in Unwound Future, those characters are just a little bit boring to me. I don't know, there's something missing to them. Last Spectre, they are completely boring. No one's interesting, no one's weird, we don't have the weirdos. I want the weirdos, give me them. And this game gives you them. We have the circus people, and then we have all the tourists, and I think those are two groups of people that are usually stereotypically weird. I don't know, and this game brings it. I love it. I think it's perfect. Mwah. I think the game, overall, for these characters, A tier, maybe even S tier, because I think this game and Diabolical Box have the most nuanced and complicated motives and characters, and this is carried through in Azure Legacy, but I think the difference between this game and Diabolical Box / Azure Legacy is that in those two games, only the main characters are complicated and nuanced. And I think more characters in this game have that same depth to them. Angela, Henry, Randall, even Alphonse Dalton, who I didn't really mention, he's also has some depth to him. They have complicated storylines. It's not clear-cut bad guy or good guy. It's very mature, especially when you compare it to Last Spectre, and also when you compare it to just the general feel of this game with the setting that is super outlandish and cartoony and carnivalesque, and then we have this mystery that is like a Chris Angel type dark miracles. Like, comparing those two things, you would think that this game would be goofy, and have like a light-hearted, goofy story. But like, I don't know, something about it feels really profound in depth, and I love these characters, and to me, A or S tier. Okay, so in my last Spectre review, I talked about how that game's puzzles felt a little tired, a little sleepy. They needed to be woken up. And this game, to me, this game is the alarm clock, baby. We are awake. This game is the first game on the 3DS, and they really take advantage of that switch to change up the norms of the puzzles and just kind of the general gameplay, which I'm kind of going to include in puzzles because I don't really know where else to put it. I don't know, the aesthetics of it are really different. I've talked about that a little bit before. You have the 3D modeled characters, which feels different, and the puzzles, the puzzles take advantage of that so much. I don't even really know how to explain it, but so many more of the puzzles have moving elements, and I think they end up going too far with this a little bit, like in some later games, like in the crossover game with Ace Attorney, I almost feel like they put everything on the top screen to play with that, and then like the bottom screen just ends up being like 4 big buttons for a puzzle, which I hate that. I don't like that. But I don't think they do that too much in this game. And this game, like, you still have an equal split of the bottom screen and the top screen in terms of like where you're solving the puzzle or where you're seeing things move, but they do take advantage of just adding more movement. So you have a lot of puzzles like the flip maze, I don't know, and like the little joystick control really, again, it primes it for such a different mode of moving. Like the console switch changed so much about these games. And a perfect example of what I'm talking about with this, because I think I'm being kind of confusing, is just the whole gameplay in the ruins, in the Aquitaine ruins. And I definitely count this as a puzzle. I don't think each floor gets counted as a puzzle in like the puzzle index, but it's definitely a type of puzzle, and it's a completely different type of puzzle than anything we've seen before. And I love the ruins. I think they're super fun to explore. They just feel so different. It feels almost like from a different game, but it still makes sense because visually it looks really different. We don't have the same puzzle format, but like the type of problem solving required for it is still very like Layton-esque. I can definitely see how if you didn't like this puzzle, how this area would be way too big and long, like, because it is pretty, it's a big area, but it's fun. I also love the kitty solitaire puzzles and the tile puzzles. I will say though, moving back into the more like the types of comments I usually make about the puzzles in these reviews, is that this game, kind of like Last Spectre, doesn't really have that many series, which is so unfortunate. I love the series. It does have more than Last Spectre, but still not as many as we see in Curious Village, Diabolical Box, or I'm on Future. And I think they only even go up to like 2, maybe 3. I think this game does have one flawed puzzle. If you remember from my Curious Village review, I talked about a puzzle that was flawed in my opinion because you had to spell out the word compass, as in like the thing that you use to draw circles, and I didn't like that it required you to have knowledge that you couldn't gather from in the game, or even in the puzzle itself, and this game has one of those. This is a Ferris lettering puzzle that requires you to know the solar system planet order, and it's such a small thing because, again, I feel like a perfect puzzle, you should be able to solve it with all the information given at hand. And some of you guys made comments before about how some of the games in the prequel trilogy require algebra to solve them. And they don't require like strict algebra, or like you don't have to know like law of sines or whatever, or anything like any actual like mathematical facts, but you could use algebraic mathematics solving to help you. Like that is one way you could solve it. Specifically, I'm thinking of the circle, the 2 donut circle puzzles in Diabolical Box with the statues when you first get into False Sense. Like that one you could use math to solve it. You can also not use math to solve it, and actually like strict math is way more complicated than the way that the hints provide, or but either way, like that to me doesn't constitute knowledge required outside of the game. There is no way for you to puzzle solve or problem solve your way around not knowing the order of the planets in the solar system, and that bothers me because like when I was solving this puzzle, even though I realized, like I kind of noticed that I was like, oh, these look like the same letters that is in the solar system. I don't know the order of the solar system, babes. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not at a 5th grade science fair. I still had to Google it. And that's just annoying to me. I think it's cheap, but it's just that one puzzle that's flawed to me. The mini games in this game are the toy robot, clear the shop, and the rabbit circus. Let me get it out of the way because I have said it so many times before. I hate the rabbit circus. I'll always hate the rabbit circus. I hate that genre of mini games. I hate it. The toy robot is sort of another reimagination of the toy train, toy car, etc. Love, we've seen it before. Still good though. But my favorite game is Clear the Shop. It is very original. I don't think we really see anything super like it in the other games, and it's my favorite out of these three. Overall, I think this game is A tier in puzzles, mainly because the whole Aquitaine Ruins section is so creative and so new, and I think if it weren't for the solar system puzzle and the relative lack of series puzzles, it could be S tier. So it might get reshuffled later to be S tier, but I really do love the puzzles in this game. So now we will move into music. And as we move into music and atmosphere, again, I just want to restate what I've said a couple times before and in the last video about the shift to 3DS, because when they changed over to 3D animation, they took the opportunity to change up the aesthetics, and that affected the atmosphere, but because atmosphere and music go together really closely, it obviously resulted in some music changes. I don't know, again, I just think that they took this as like a creative deep breath, this shift this console shift. And I think that that's just evident. Everything just feels like more in this game and like revamped in this game, and I really like that. So I think for that reason, the music in this game, Azure and Legacy, just feels so different. And the music in this game, in general, matched the vibe of Monte d'Or, and that is grand, baby. Again, think back to the panache and the pizzazz. The music, it is over the top and carnivalesque. Obviously, atmosphere is coming up next, so I'll save most of my commentary for that section, like around the settings, but I have to at least introduce that here because Monte d'Or is like, it's more of an attraction than a town, and it is built to entertain, and that relates to the plot, which I'll get more into, but it's built to entertain and amaze, and the masked gentleman, he's performing these epic, amazing, cool to watch dark miracles. I mean, they're messed up for sure, but like they're cool. And he's doing it in a showy fashion. There's a casino, there's a racetrack, there's a circus, these amazing hotels, and it feels like Vegas, baby. And the music matches that showiness throughout this game, even throughout the different moods in this game. It is still always, I don't know, intense. So for the tense vibes, we have Masked Gentleman, Dangerous Pranks, and Pursuit. Again, all of these are still so performative and showy. Also, I think my favorite track in this game might be casino music. It's called the Scorpion track. It is the perfect casino music. It's casino music like you've never heard it before. It's so good, and here's some of that. It's just perfect and showy and feels like Ocean's 11 or some high-rolling casino movie. It's casino. I don't know. It's so good. The racetrack and the circus tent music are really interesting to me because they carry that showiness, but they communicate that it is like the day off. Like, it's not the music you hear during the race or during the actual circus, but like it's the day before the actual events, during the rehearsal or something. I just like those. So here's racetrack. Here's circus tent music. Pumpkin Park is full-on carnival vibes, babes. It almost reminds me of the circus in Series of Unfortunate Events. Here's some of that music. course, I have to talk about the Montador music, which is the track that plays the most often. Oh my god, this shit will be stuck in your head for the rest of your life. I think this was stuck in my head before I even heard it. Like, it's good. It's a little annoying, but honestly, I want to give it credit because it is not as annoying as it could be. Like, when you're tasked with making ambling music for a town as Vegas-y and as like in your face as Montador is, you really could make the most annoying music you've ever heard. But this is pretty good, all things considered. Like, it does definitely get stuck in your head for the rest of your life, but it's not too annoying. And like, it's so hard to make a mundane everyday track for a setting that is anything but those two adjectives, and they did that. They did that. The other setting, besides Montador, is Stansbury, which is Herschel's hometown that we see in all the past storyline stuff. And this music is more classic Layton, as it should be. It is sleepy hometown. It reminds me a lot of the Miss Gallery music. It's just dreamy. I really like the Stansbury track. I also like the Stansbury track at night. Dreamy is the word the only word I have to describe it. The final like mini setting is the Aquadane area, which is technically in Stansbury, but just feels kind of different. I really like the Norwell track. It's so mysterious. The music in the ruins is very adventurer, ruin exploring, you might die though kind of music, which is also perfect. In the game's sad music, the two main sad tracks are Unforgettable Memories and A Treasure That Lasts. A Treasure That Lasts make my heart just go. Then finally, we have to talk about the actual theme kind of music of this game, which unfortunately I think might be the weakest theme for this entire franchise. It's good, and I like it, but I don't love it. And when I say weakest, again, keep in mind that this franchise has like the most epic theme music ever, but like, it's just not perfect. It represents the mystery vibe perfectly, but I think that it should have been a bit more grand and showy, and it does build, but to me it's missing something. So here's that. Overall though, I think this music is S tier. I'm throwing so many S tiers out today. I really think it's S tier. It does what Diabolical Box's music did, in that it somehow combines so many different feels, but still feels so cohesive. And to be honest, I think this game might have done music better than Diabolical Box, which I love Diabolical Box. And I'll have to reevaluate that when I compare all the music to each other, but it's S tier. It's gotta be S tier. Like, I could have happily talked about every single track in this game and had something different to say for every single one. S tier. Okay, so now we have the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is a lot like the music in that I love it. I love it. Like I said, It's all over the top. A carnival, a casino, a racetrack, epic hotels that defy architectural logic. It's all there. And it all makes sense with the plot. Oh, Manon. It's beautiful. It is beautiful, and when I get into the end game, I'll explain more about what I mean. But Monte d'Oro was built by Henry to be the most attracting city, and not just for money reasons. It's not just a tourist trap. We'll get more into it later. But its whole purpose is to be eye-catching, and with the mask at the center of its mythos, it's so good. Oh, and it just makes sense. It's diegetic. That's how you do a diegetic town, baby. On the flip side, though, the inclusion of the past story makes it so that we're not completely overwhelmed by that. It's like a little respite from it. Sleepy Stansbury interludes, that's what they are. They're sleepy Stansbury interludes. They're a place of relaxation and just, it's good. And even in that, though, we're not too bored because then, boom, we're in the Akbadain ruins. It's so fucking good. Because, I'm sorry, on the Akbadain ruins, finally, we get to actually explore something remotely related to archaeological digs and whatnot. Like, oh my god, it only took 5 games to get some real archaeology in it. They're just fun. Like I said, I love the Akbadain ruins, and it's really hard for me to pick my favorite locations in this game because I think it's all good. It's just all good. I love anything to do with the ruins. I love Pumpkin Park. I love all of Monte d'Oro, honestly. Although the racetrack's kind of boring. That may be the only, like, sleeper. But it's perfect. I love Vegas, and I love the way that the hotels in this game feel like Vegas. They're cool. I love it, and I think the characters, the oddball characters of the tourists, and the circus people, like, it all adds to it. And like I said, I really love how relaxing Stansbury feels. It's a lot like Miss Salary. It's very classic Layton. If Stansbury weren't in this game, I think I would be sitting here saying that this game didn't feel like a Layton game in atmosphere, but like Stansbury changes that. It's just so good. That town makes me feel a peace that I will never know. I just really never realized how much I love the atmosphere of this game until I was sitting down and writing this. I just don't think that there's really any truly boring part about it, except perhaps the racetrack, but we don't spend much time there. Nothing feels unattended to, and the atmosphere in general just feels very zany and over the top. But again, it's not surface level. Like, sometimes with the showy settings, you realize that underneath all of that whole veneer of, like, the glitz and the glam, there's nothing deeper to it. But that's not true with this game, because, like I'll get into at the end game, Monte d'Oro is a very purposeful town, and that glitz and that glam and panache, pizzazz, like, it has a deep reason that the town needed to be like that. So the atmosphere is S tier. I'm sorry. It's just so unique yet cohesive. It all makes total sense with the plot, and nothing feels extraneous. Nothing's there just because it looks cool either. It's just it's all purposeful and showy. S tier. On to the ending and just generally the plot in general. So, kind of like the premise, we have 2 endings that I'm going to look at, which one is from the present storyline and one is from the past storyline. So, in the past storyline, we see that Randall has found the Akbadain ruins, and he is so sure that the Mask of Chaos is in there, and he is like, I am going to find it. So Herschel goes along with him, not because he cares about Akbadain or finding the ruins or any of that stuff, but just because he wants to make sure Randall is safe on Angela's behalf. So they go and find it. That's where the whole ruins gameplay is. We do all that. And when they are right in the treasure room, Randall actually falls into a underground river abyss thing and dies. Layton takes nothing but a coin from the treasure, and he returns back to town to tell Angela that Randall has died, and he leaves the coin on Randall's empty grave, and he ends up leaving Stansbury. Tears, screaming, crying, gagging on the floor. The wrap up to the flashback storyline is so good. I love it. It answers all the questions that we have, like, slowly been asking about how Randall died and how he knew about the Mask of Chaos. Like, it answers all of that. It reveals so much about Herschel's motivation, why he likes archaeology, why he feels obliged to solve this mystery for Angela, why he likes puzzles. Like, my personal favorite thing about this flashback ending is that in every other game, we see Layton do, like, a grab and roll thing to save the characters. I've joked about this before, and I like to think that he is so hell-bent on saving people in this way, because he feels like maybe if he pulled a similar move with Randall, he would have been able to save him. Like if he had let Randall go on first, if instead of running ahead of Randall, he had grabbed him and jumped with him, maybe he could have saved him. And I say I like to think that, but like it actually destroys me inside a little bit to think about that. Like, sad. This ending though obviously ties into the present ending. That would be legit insane if it didn't. But in the present ending, we notice that Angela is acting a little bit odd and asking us if we found the mask, and even though she like knows we haven't. And we also meet a man named Leon Bronev. He is looking for the third set of Azerin ruins, the first two being the Golden Garden in Last Spectre and Ambrosia from Eternal Diva, which again I'll review that movie later. So that's you know, we see him. Then the masked man, masked gentleman kidnaps Luke, we get him back, and he is revealed to be Randall, because Randall did not die. He actually fell into an underground river and ended up in a village where he lived, having no clue who he was, until he received a letter about his past. This letter also conveniently told him how he could get revenge on Henry, because it told Randall that Henry like supposedly had stolen Angela and like betrayed him. It was a little bit of a lie. Randall was the one who did these masked gentlemen like deeds, but not entirely of his own motivations. More on that. So they end up using the Mask of Chaos and another mask called the Mask of Order to uncover the ruins of Akbadain, and Randall learns that Henry didn't betray him, rather he used the treasure in the Legend of the Mask to found Montador in the hopes of finding Randall again. Like, Henry thought that Randall was still alive, that he might not remember things. I mean, he was right. But that no matter what memories he had, he would still be interested in a town like Montador and in a artifact like the Mask of Chaos. Also, I just want to say, they uncover the Akbadain ruins, but like, they're connected to the Akbadain ruins that the boys found in the flashback, but it's like something slightly different. Like, they found the treasure room, but not these. I don't know, it's a little weird, but it's not the same exact ruins, I think. The whole town actually is deeded like it belongs to Randall, because Henry used the treasure from the treasure room to like start all of this, and Henry only married Angela because otherwise she would have had to marry Alphonse, who is that guy who I was like, it's not super important, because again, this is kind of like the 50s era, so like Henry is doing this all for Randall, basically. Layton then reveals that Randall was used as a pawn by the person who sent those letters, and that person is Descalais, who is actually, like, Descalais at some point kidnapped Angela and disguised himself as Angela, so, like, he was like, "It's you, sir," but it's Angela, but it's not Angela, it's Descalais. So he disguised himself as Angela so he could, like, try to get close to Layton to get the masks, but at the end, Descalais gets away. We see him at the Akbadain Chambers, then Leon Bronev, that guy again, and the group called Tarjan appear. Descalais, he flees love. So we're like, ooh, so he's not really working for Tarjan. Intriguing. But then we see Leon Bronev make an ominous statement, kind of like a whole thing, that now all three of the Akbadain ruins are under Tarjan control, and that they almost have the power of the Azran. So perfect setup for the third and final game of the franchise. And I love this ending. I love it. It perfectly connects the past, the present, and I'm also going to make a bold claim and say that it takes an aspect of Unwanted Future and it does it better. And that is, in Unwanted Future, Clive is a pawn for Dimitri and uses his rage against him. And something I said in that video is that I think that the motivation is a little weak for Clive. Like, it makes sense that he's upset that, like, his town got destroyed or, like, his parents died, whatever. But, like, I don't think that him being upset, like, it makes sense that he's upset. It doesn't make sense that him being upset would lead him to be like, I am going to destroy all of London. Like, what? But here, Randall is used as a pawn, like Clive is, but his motivation does make sense. Like, he's destroying Montador because he wants to destroy Henry's creation as payback for this perceived betrayal. Like, he wants Henry to fucking hurt. He wants Henry's pride and joy, Montador, to just be demolished, to not be profitable. And when the Dark Miracles actually attract more people to the town, then he's like, all right, I'm gonna bury it in sand. To me, this game, S tier ending, S tier ending, S tier ending. I'm sorry, but everything comes together so perfectly. Like, the plot is so well woven together. It's so well thought out. Everything is attended to. It has the flashbacks. It has the past latent character building that is central to a prequel. It deliciously connects Last Spectre and Eternal Diva to this game, and it lays the foundations for the last game in the prequel. S tier. S tier. I'm sorry. It's S tier. I am not even going to waste any time getting into the final ranking and final thoughts because this game is S tier. Are you surprised? I gave every single section an S tier except for one section I got an A tier. Everything about this game is perfect to me, and again, I truly was shocked upon replaying this game just how much I loved it and just how much I think it's flawless. I do. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that it's in 3D. I like the effect that that had on the puzzles. I just don't like the 3D like art. But that's just me. Like, that's just a personal aesthetic opinion. I think as objectively a ranking can be, like, it's really good. Because everything about this game is perfect and it pulls so much weight. Like I said, it sets up the whole point of the prequel series, which is so impressive when you consider that it's the second in the series. Like, how does the second game in the series set up the game? It retrospectively makes Last Spectre have a purpose. And I don't know how well I feel, like, I don't know how much I actually think that this prequel trilogy was thought out to me. It almost feels like they made Last Spectre and then were like, oh, we should, like, maybe think something about, like, the rest of this game. And then they came up with Miracle Mask and they, like, retconned some parts of Last Spectre to make sense. And it connects to Eternal Diva. And it explains everything we know about Professor Layton in a way that, like, doesn't feel cheap. It makes sense. Like, it's flawless. The music is amazing. The atmosphere is amazing. The puzzles are amazing, except for the one solar system puzzle. It's just like, it's so good. And it actually pisses me off that so many people don't give this game a fair chance or don't actually, like, they don't treat this game right. Like, there's so much hate towards the prequel trilogy, and I think a lot of it is undeserved. I think possibly that's a bold take. But, like, it really kind of bothers me, the disrespect people give this game, because it's really good. They don't appreciate it enough. Sometimes people just want to hate on, like, changes, and I get that. Again, I didn't like the change to 3DS. The first time I played it, I was like, this game sucks. I miss the old Layton. No, this game is amazing, and shame on past me for not seeing that. I will talk about more about the undeserved hate for the prequel series in general. I'll talk about that after Azrael Legacy, but it's amazing, and it's got to be S tier. So that is my ranking for this video. Like I always say, please tell me your thoughts. I've seen some other people agree with me or talk about how much that they love this game in some of my other videos. But let me know what you guys think. I love hearing your thoughts. And I really look forward to... I need to replay Azrael Legacy before I can review it, so I look forward to doing that. That video will probably take a little bit longer because I have to replay it. But yeah. Bye.